July is NFP Awareness Month. Do you have NFP? If so, get help. Hi, we're Jackie and Bobby with Ascension Presents. This is a third part of a four-part series we're doing on the Catholic Church and the teachings on contraception and fertility and the goodness of life. So recommend you go watch part 1 and 2 if you haven't done so already. Part 1 is
5 reasons to ditch the pill.
And the second video is why we don't use contraception. So today we're going to talk about, okay, so if I can't use contraception, then what? I just have 25 babies?
Maybe.
No, maybe. But we have a method that's tried and true, thanks be to God in the church today, called Natural Family Planning, NFP. So, Jackie, what the heck is NFP?
So NFP is not contraception, but it's a form of birth control or birth regulation, which the church actually says, okay, I'm going to read from the Catechism in 2370. It says, periodic continence, which is NFP, that is the methods of birth regulation based on self-observation and the use of infertile periods, is in conformity with the objective criteria of morality. These methods respect the bodies of the spouses, encourage tenderness between them, and favor the education of an authentic freedom. So NFP, what it is, natural family planning, and there are many different forms. There's the Creighton model, the Billings model, the symptothermal, the Marquette method. There's lots of different types of NFP, but basically it's observations of a woman's body. So some focus on cervical mucus, and I know if the word mucus makes you stop, don't do that. It's observations of cervical mucus or temperature or the cervix, the position of the cervix, or other signs like peeing on a stick and knowing your levels to know if you are ovulating or not.
It's not just based on what happened last month, like the rhythm of last month equals this month.
Right, it's not the rhythm method.
Yeah.
In fact, the Creighton model, which we use, is when used well, perfect use is 99.8% if you are trying to avoid pregnancy. But it can be used for your fertility as a sign of health. So you can use it to see your health, you can use it to avoid pregnancy or to achieve pregnancy. I mean, there's a very small window of when you can actually get pregnant. So if you don't know what's going on in your body, it's kind of a, no pun intended, a shot in the dark.
Classy, my wife.
I love it just for the health sake, to know what's going on in my body. I know the times of the month that I'm, going to be a little more
sensitive
and emotional when Bobby needs to buy me chocolate and flowers. So I can pinpoint those days by charting. I know those days that I'm going to be a little more emotional. And I also know the days that maybe I'm going to have migraines. And I used to have hormonal acne. So all those things by charting, you see what's going on in your body. Instead of just putting a woman on the pill and stopping her from ovulating completely, the pill basically, it treats you as if you're pregnant. So if you have endometriosis, PCOS, ovarian cysts, you're not going to know that with the pill because it just stops the symptoms. But with natural family planning, you actually can see what's going on, and you can give your chart to a doctor, like a NAPRO doctor, and they can tell you, like, you're low in these hormones, or you have PCOS, or you have endometriosis. Let's help you. Let's give you some more natural hormones and not synthetic hormones that can harm you, but bioidentical hormones. Sorry, I was very excited, and now I'm going to ask you, Bobby.
Well, again, NFP respects the woman's body. It's not just like, here, take a pill. It's like, oh, this is like the valleys and the mountains of your fertility, and it respects the woman, and it helps me learn what's going on.
Yeah, it also...
So it's been awesome, like, as a man, like I can learn what's really going on in my wife's body. I'm fascinated by it all. Under a microscope, you can see, like, the mucus of when a woman is infertile. It looks like just a bunch of Tetris blocks that there's no way,
like a brick wall.
Yeah, there's no way anything can get through that.
But
when the mucus is fertile, it's like just a straight shot,
like channels,
like a road
under a microscope. Like, how awesome is that? So
like the way God has designed our bodies.
Yes,
it works with that instead of trying to play God and manipulate that ourselves.
So even though NFP is difficult, and we will address that next week, Bobby will address that next week. Even though it's difficult and it's not always easy, it's not always fun.
No.
Though I think what's awesome about NFP is that learning our bodies, learning the beauty of our bodies, is exciting for both of us. I think our first NFP class was like, dang, I didn't know this. God has designed our bodies so beautifully. So Bobby, the million-dollar question that everybody asks is, well, then NFP, if you're trying to avoid pregnancy, it's just contraception. So people who use contraception try to say this to say, well, I can just keep using my pill or my IUD or get sterilized, because NFP is just contraception anyways. But then there are also people who are anti-NFP, who are like, don't believe in contraception or any kind of birth control or regulation at all. And they're like, well, it's just contraception. So what would you say to that, my friend?
If NFP is the same thing as contraception, why don't you just do NFP?
And then they're like, oh, you know the people who
Boom,
use
roasted.
contraception.
So that's the sassy answer.
You know it's not.
That's the sassy answer. Yeah, the kind and patient answer is that it's not the same thing, because the methods are different. If I need money, I can either rob a bank or I can work at a job. If I want to get an A on a test, I can either study or I can cheat. Like the end
result is
the end result may be
yeah.
the same, but we as Catholics believe that the act and what you and how you get there, it matters. Like the method matters. And so with contraception, it's a purposeful no, we're not open to life, we don't want a baby. And with NFP and charting, you're open to God. You're saying, we're observing this. If we're really not in a place to have a baby, we're just not going to have sex. Like that's the challenge of NFP, is to have self-control and abstain. NFP is open to God still. You are God, we are not. And even if I'm looking at a chart and I can say like, there's like no chance she's in an infertile state right now, but we choose to have sex, we're still saying, God, you are the author of life, and in that 1% chance. And I remember back before I was married, my friend Stu, he was doing NFP with his wife, and I asked him like, how is it like actually doing NFP? He said, it's terrifying. It's terrifying, because coming from a condom and contraceptive mentality to embracing NFP, like, even though I look and I know
it's 99.8% effective.
Yeah, there's no chance right now of her conceiving a baby. We are still not putting any barriers up. We are still saying, Lord, our family is in your hands. And again, how freeing that is. All right, so Jackie, what are some of the other benefits of NFP? Why should anyone practice it, even if they're not dating or married?
Well, I think one, it puts the couple on the same page. You're communicating every month. There was one study that said that for Catholics, that the Catholic women who ever used NFP in their marital life were 53% less likely to be divorced compared to those women who never used NFP. So that's one benefit, is that
it forces you to talk.
It forces you to talk. And it also fosters intimacy. In fact, there was another study that said, in comparing couple users of NFP with similar cohort of couples using contraceptive methods, it found that NFP couples reported higher levels of spiritual well-being and intimacy. Because in those times, I mean, intimacy just doesn't equal sex. We can, and I think you have to learn as a couple, what are other ways that we can grow in intimacy that's not just sex? Like, again, how do we go on dates? How do we romance each other? But again, a woman is most sexually charged when she's ovulating. So that is the difficulty of NFP, is that if you are avoiding pregnancy, is that you are...
When you're most desiring each other is when you have to
abstain.
have self-control, and that's again the demand of NFP. I would say too, like, it's just amazing again to learn the woman's body. Like, I can't imagine as a man like not knowing what the heck is going on in my body. So it's a great gift to the church we have it in this era, in this time period.
Right.
They didn't have this 100 years ago. They didn't have this dialed in 50 years ago. I want our daughters to learn this, like when they hit the right age of like, here's what's going on in your body.
But really, again, that we know what's going on, but also they know what's going on, because again, when we turn the age of 14, when you start your period, girls go to their OBGYNs and they're like, all right, let's put you on the pill. Instead of teaching us
what's really going on.
And so what if we were actually taught what was going on in our bodies, and if there was an underlying issue that maybe later on would prevent us from being able to get pregnant when we wanted to have children. So again, I think it is so empowering to know what's going on in our bodies. And so there's a lot of benefits of NFP. Google it, find out more. It's awesome, you guys. Again, Bobby's gonna do a video next week on why it's not awesome and the difficulties of it. So we just wanna be honest with you. We don't wanna lie to you and tell you that it's all rainbows and sunshine. It's gonna be difficult, it's tough, but it's awesome still.
It's worth it. From all of us at Ascension Presents, God bless.